an arrest warrant. Plus, the NDC minorities campaign to pile pressure on the special prosecutor to arrest more individuals named in the Professor Frimpong Boateng Galamsey report. We tell you what happened when Professor Frimpong Boateng met Gabi Asariotre Darko, who has sued the former environment minister for defamation.
It was a meeting with some elders. The two of us were there. This is a more or less private meeting, and we discuss things of mutual interest.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. It has become a full-blown standoff between the Office of the Special Prosecutor and Charles Bissue, a former secretary to the Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining, and his team of lawyers. Today, they secured a court order restraining the Special Prosecutor from executing an arrest warrant. Well, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has reacted, declaring it does not need a warrant to arrest any person it suspects to have committed a corruption offense. This declaration comes in the wake of the High Court restraining the office from executing that arrest warrant it had secured to apprehend Mr. Bissue. The OSP has for more than 2 weeks been trying to interrogate Mr. Bissue for his role on the Anti-Galamsey Committee. In fact, in the last few minutes, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has confirmed Mr. Bissue is still a wanted man. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akable just received an official copy of the court order secured by lawyers of Mr. Bissue and joins us right now via Zoom. Joseph, what does this order say?
And so, Evans, I'm reading the order is signed by Justice Nicholas M.C. Abudakwi, Justice of the High Court, and it's in the case of Charles Bissue versus Office of Special Prosecutor, Kaneshie District Court. It reads, Order for interim injunction upon reading the affidavit of Eric Esau Latte of number 9 Wawa Drive, North Jolo, Accra. The applicant hearing filed on 14th day of June 2023 in support of an application into bracket motion on ex parte for an order for interim injunction hearing, and upon hearing the submissions of Nana J. Bafo Ewa, counsel for and on behalf of the applicant hearing, it is hereby ordered that the first respondent, its agents, assigns, and or persons, whoever so described and claiming through it to be, are restrained from executing the arrest warrant is procured from the second respondent against the applicant, applying for further arrest warrants against the applicant, publishing notices purporting the applicant to be wanted pending the determination of the application for the enforcement of fundamental human rights. It is further ordered that this order shall last for 10 days, given under my hand and the seal of the High Court of Justice Accra, this 15th day of June 2023, signed Kwame Daniels, who is the registrar of the court.
This is far-reaching, stopping the OSP from applying for further arrest warrants against the applicant, publishing notices purporting the applicant to be wanted. If you check the OSP website as we speak, that notice is still there. The OSP confirms to us just a short while ago that he is still wanted. We'll try and get clarity on what this means in the wake of this particular order of the court. Also, pending the determination of the application for the enforcement of fundamental human rights. Now, that is a substantive matter. What really were the concerns that lawyers of Charles Bissue placed before the court that convinced it to issue this order?
In fact, very similar arguments to what they have advanced in the last couple of weeks, making the point that as far as they are concerned, they do not have the petition that gave rise to the investigation that is being carried out by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. They also make the point that in the last couple of weeks, they have also been engaging the Office of the Special Prosecutor and simply had a disagreement on the specific date as to when he's supposed to show up for the office to engage him on the claims and his role when he served under the IMCIM. So they make the point that as far as they were concerned, the subsequent publication of him as a wanted person and the securing of this arrest warrant, which they say they believe had been secured from the Kaneshie District Court, was contrary to law and breach of due process and amounted to a breach of his rights. And so they asked the court to, as a result, restrain the OSP, and the court has agreed with that particular argument, Evans.
You've been checking with Mr. Bissue's legal team. What's the understanding of the way forward?
As far as they are concerned, in fact, their position, even before they secured this particular order, was that because of the pending processes they had filed, they did not expect Charles Bissue to show up at the office of the special prosecutor. That position has not changed. They believe that this order goes a step further to put all things on hold, at least for the next 10 days. And the expectation is that the OSP will desist from attempting to arrest him or looking out for him. And they do not expect that he should be showing up at the office of the special prosecutor as well.
See, but in the interim, we know that today the office of the special prosecutor, shortly after this court order, they issued a notice. And the notice was very emphatic that they really do not require the warrant to make an arrest.
Yes, it's a notice that the OSP put out on its Twitter feed and a couple of its other handles as well. And it reads, "Public notice. The general public is advised that in the exercise of its police powers, the Office of Special Prosecutor can arrest without a warrant any person it reasonably suspects of having committed corruption or corruption-related offenses." And that this post was put out just minutes after that order had virtually been broken on the news, all the news portals across the country.
Thank you very much, Joseph Akable. I want to bring in lawyer Bobby Bansing on the latest development on the back of the court order that is restraining the special prosecutor doing a host of things, really, including even applying for further arrest warrants. I want to bring him in right now. Mr. Bansing, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thanks for having me, Evans, and good evening to your listeners.
And I read this order from the court. It's pretty wide-ranging and far-reaching, including it restrains the special prosecutor from executing the arrest warrant they procured against Charles Bissue, also restrains him from applying for further arrest warrants against him, publishing notices purporting the applicant to be wanted. What's your understanding of this particular order in relation to what we know the special prosecutor has already done, including the notice, the wanted notice, which is still up on his website?
Well, Evans, I have looked at the application ex parte that was filed, based on which the interim order was made by the court. To be frank, I do not see how that order or this order, as a copy of which I got from your producer, prevents the special prosecutor from doing his work or carrying out his mandate under its enabling act. Because the wording of the order is very specific. It says there clearly, it is hereby ordered that the special prosecutor, or that is the first respondent, its agent, assigns, and those claiming through it are restrained from executing the arrest warrant it procured from the second respondent. Now, Evans, throughout, so the case of the applicant is that it has procured, the case of Mr. Bissue is that the special prosecutor procured an arrest warrant from the Kaneshie District Court, right? And so it is going to court, or he is going to court for an order to restrain the special prosecutor from putting into effect that arrest warrant. However, I was expecting that this so-called arrest warrant would have been exhibited to the affidavit in support to the ex parte application, because that is the basis of the application. I did not see it. Maybe I am wrong. If it's there, I stand to be corrected. They did not make reference to the alleged arrest warrant, which they claim the special prosecutor had obtained, and for which reason they were asking the court to restrain the special prosecutor from carrying it out. My little experience at the bar is that you do not get a court to exercise judicial review authority over an administrative body or a lower court when that, in respect of a process emanating or an order emanating from that administrative body or that lower court, when a copy of that order you are attacking or impugning has not been exhibited. And so that is my first concern about the application filed and the subsequent order that came from it. The second concern is that the Canadian District Court has been made a second respondent. I mean, you never make a court a party to a case. A court can never be a party. If you file for an application for judicial review, which this is not, this is an application for enforcement of fundamental human rights. So a court, because the Canadian District Court is not an artificial or legal entity. When you file an application for certiorari, you mention the name of the court where the order comes from, but that is certiorari or prerogative orders. But this one is an application for the enforcement of fundamental human rights. I don't see how the Canadian Court, in exercise of its functions, or a judge in exercise of its function, can be dragged to a courtroom for breaching somebody's fundamental human rights. So that is my second curiosity with this. Now that, hello, Evans.
Yes,
I'm
here.
There?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, now the third leg of the application, the order. Again, like I said, the order is very narrow. It is dealing with a purported, and I'm using the word purported because I have not cited the arrest warrant, and it wasn't exhibited to the application. So the order is limited to a purported arrest warrant. As I said on your program 2 days ago, I believe, my appreciation of the enabling act of the OSP's office is that he does not need an arrest warrant to be able to arrest anybody. He does not. And so if you obtain an order of injunction to restrain the OSP from acting on a purported arrest warrant, you have not secured an injunction to prevent the OSP from working outside this purported arrest warrant. Because if the interim order had read, if it had read, it is hereby ordered that the OSP is restrained from investigating or arresting the said Charles Bissue, then you are saying that the hands of the OSP has been tied, whether lawfully or unlawfully by the court, whether rightly or wrongly by the court, is being tied. But this order, based on the application, it does not tie the OSP's hands at all. In fact, I think, in my humble opinion, that if the OSP sees Mr. Charles Bissue today, they can arrest him, because then they'll be arresting him outside the purported warrant which the court has restrained them from executing.
In executing its powers, and they have police
Yes.
powers.
Yes. So that is my position in respect of this.
But then there's,
Now,
there's another aspect to this order, which obviously raises a live question. A live question because if you go to the OSP's website, they still have the wanted notice there. But this order says also restrains the OSP from publishing notices such as that. To quote, publishing notices purporting the applicant to be wanted. Does it have an implication on this notice, which is still on the website of the OSP?
Well, this is a thin line. The OSP's website, that publication made by the OSP, was done before this order was obtained. An interim order is made to restrain you from further doing something. But I believe the publication done by the OSP was done before this order was obtained. So if the OSP puts up another publication, then you would have said the OSP's second publication would have been outside or would have been in breach of this order. That is my humble opinion. However, somebody may interpret it to mean that the continuous presence of that publication, or that notice rather, the continuous presence of that notice on their website can be deemed to be continuous publication. But somebody may ask, publication is done on a certain date. It is not continuous. So if I go to my Joy Online, and my Joy Online published a story on the 1st of June 2020, and I'm not happy with that story, and I go to court for an order to restrain my Joy Online from further publications, the order is not that my Joy Online should pull down the previous publication. It didn't say they should pull down the previous publication. He said from further publication. So if my Joy Online published something on the 1st of June, and I go to secure an order restraining them from further publication, if there is subsequent publication in respect of that subject matter on the 10th of June, on the 11th of June, then I can say my Joy Online has acted contrary to that order.
Yeah, but
so
the emphasis there,
two ways of looking at it.
Yeah, you're right. The emphasis there is in this case it will be the further publication, except that in this order, that word is not introduced. It is simply restrained from publishing notices purporting the applicant to be wanted. And of course, we'll see how this plays out if indeed lawyers for Charles Bissue interprets it in the second instance as you cited.
Yes, but Evans, you know, the law and court orders, unless expressly said so, are not intended to have retrospective effect.
The special prosecutor issued a notice today in making the point you made earlier that they do not require a warrant to arrest him. And you've made the point that they can arrest him today if they find him. And it begs the question, why did they go to court in the first place for the first arrest warrant?
Well, that is why I said I was hoping I would have cited the arrest warrant, but I have not seen it. And I don't know if the OSP has admitted in any of their publications or public statement that they actually went for that arrest warrant. I have not seen it.
On the back of this order, though, Charles Bissue a couple of days back spoke to us and says he would turn himself in. And you know the OSP has declared him wanted. On the back of this order, Charles Bissue is within his right not to turn himself in, is he not?
Well, I will leave that to his lawyers to advise him. I'll leave that to his lawyers to advise him. You know, we in our common law jurisdiction, even though the exercise of a discretion by a court to grant an injunction or not, it's purely at the discretion of the court. The exercise of the jurisdiction to grant an injunction or not is purely at the discretion of the court. There are certain rules that govern the exercise of those discretions. And the Supreme Court has made it very clear that injunction cannot be used as a clog against the performance of a statutory duty or a statutory mandate. The reverse is that an injunction cannot be used to perpetuate an illegality. Now, even the OSP, as I understand, does not have the authority to even commence prosecution without the Attorney General's permission or fiat or something like that, right? And secondly, if the OSP is investigating you, it doesn't mean that you have been convicted. It doesn't mean that you have been convicted. And Evans, if I may go to this, I read an interesting deposition in the motion filed. If you go to paragraph 7 of the applicant, the motion filed for the order. Hello?
Yes.
Evans, are you with
paragraph
me?
7, yes.
Paragraph 7. That per the aforementioned act establishing the first respondent, which is the OSP, the powers of the first respondent are invoked either through a complaint lodged with it or through a referral from a competent authority. I'm not sure if this deposition is a reflection of the regulations of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, because Regulation 1 is very clear that the OSP may act based on a complaint or based on a referral by a public authority, even Parliament, or based on its own sources without any complaint. Without any complaint. And so if you make reference to the other depositions, I think that Mr. Bissue's problem with the OSP is that they have requested for a copy of a petition or the complaint filed with the OSP based on which the OSP is investigating them.
And that's a subject that the court says they will look into substantively. Bobby Bunsen, thank you very much for your thoughts on this, helping us appreciate what is happening, this standoff between lawyers and Charles Bissue and the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And the Office of the Special Prosecutor makes the note that this order that was secured today by lawyers for Charles Bissue was done ex parte, which means that they were not in copy or in the know. It's they went to court and secured it. OSP does not need a petition to investigate any matter, and they haven't engaged the OSP yet, and they have refused to attend to the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which we know has been the subject of this long dispute and the standoff which keeps raging on. And let's stay with the issues surrounding illegal mining for a while, because in a related development, the NDC minority in Parliament, they have been piling pressure on the Special Prosecutor to arrest more individuals named in that controversial Professor Frimpong Boateng report on Galamsey. Dr. Rashid Purple is a ranking member on the Lands and Forestry Committee in Parliament and has been addressing a news conference.
We believe that if government wants to demonstrate seriously or seriousness in the fight against Galamsey, it must go beyond the arrest of Professor Frimpong Boateng. It should go wider by ensuring the arrest of government and Jubilee appointees at the heart of government, which includes Mr. Gabi Ochiridako, the President's cousin, the Director of Operations, Mr. Lord Comey, including Honorable Joseph Albert Kwam, who have all been cited by the committee. It is our opinion that a public inquiry on the committee reports and damage to our forest reserves is necessary, especially with the now wider destruction of our lands and rivers by Galamsey operators.
Well, Gabi Ochiridako, you know, has sued Professor Frimpong Boateng for defamation. We are learning the two gentlemen have met. Professor Frimpong Boateng, meanwhile, insists he has not defamed Ms. Ochiridako.
This is a case for the lawyers in the courts.
Okay. Have you spoken to him at all since?
Yes.
This name came out?
Yes.
He called you or you called him?
No, it was a meeting with some elders. The two of us were there.
Purposely called because of your report?
No, because of... You see, I don't want to go into this report. It's because it's not my report. I wrote it, but it's for the president.
So let's call the president's report that you drafted.
No, that I wrote. That I presented to him.
That you presented to him.
I'm not saying that the president wrote it, but I mean, I wrote it and presented it. After that, it's no longer my report.
Yes.
I authored it, but yes.
In this meeting when you met Gabi, what happened?
No, let's not go into those things. This is more or less private meeting, and we discuss things of mutual interest. So let's.
Was it cordial?
Pardon me?
Was it cordial? Was that?
Well, it was cordial, yes, of course.
In spite of the things you said about him in this report.
I haven't said anything about it.
No, you said he called you and he was possibly trying to intervene.
See, I don't want to go into that report because I wrote it, I have not published it. I don't want to discuss it. It is meant for the president, and I'm saying that if someone is saying that this is hearsay and my personal opinion and this vendetta and so on, if we ignore this report and we don't act according to it, you will and take lessons from it. There's no way that one can fight.
He says you defamed him. You disagree?
I don't want to go into it.
I'm just asking you separately. He's taking a separate action. He says you defamed him.
I've not defamed him.
You haven't defamed him? How is that? Because he says what he said about him.
As I said, let's not go into it. I mean, others will stray into areas which we are not supposed to.
So, but you hold the view strongly that you haven't defamed Gabi Ochiridako.
Yes. Okay. And he says I've defamed him. That's for the court, up to the court to decide.
To decide.
Yeah. So.
You also said.
I appreciate what he's saying, but yeah.
But sorry, you were going to finish.
But it's up to the courts to determine.
I want to bring in Dr. Rashid Purple, who is a ranking member on the Lands and Forestry Committee in Parliament. They addressed a news conference asking the OSP to go after many more individuals named in that Professor Frimpong Boateng report. Thank you very much, Dr. Purple.
Yes, thank you, Evans.
On the matter that you raised at the press conference, the OSP has stated categorically on Newsfile just last week that everyone mentioned in that report, so far as it triggers or is within their mandate, they will be investigated. In fact, he says many more people have already been interrogated and many more will be going forward. Doesn't that address your concern?
Not at all. Thank you so much. We are talking about a more serious approach by government. A government finds the need to arrest an informant. Our position is that the people the informant has mentioned must be arrested as well. I mean, we want a definite approach to it. We want to make sure the people who are dealing with this must be dealing with it holistically. It must be a committed attempt to save the situation. We are worried about the devastation going on, and no name mentioned say above the law.
But you see, there's a danger there, right? I mean, I'm not sure you are proposing that once your name is mentioned, then you are arrested.
No, but
that will not be due process.
But the first question is that why will the informant be arrested? If there's a need to arrest the person coming to inform you, a house is burning. I'm coming to inform you about a house burning. And then you arrested the person who has come to inform you while the house is continuing to burn. Why don't you also arrest the people he has mentioned at the cause of the fire? We are worried about the lack of justice happening right now. I don't think the arrest of Frimpong Boateng was necessary at all. It was very awkward and shouldn't have happened at all. But once it has happened, it shows that there is a level of commitment taking shape. And we want to get to make sure that that level of commitment is sustained. The people whose names are mentioned, if the informant is arrested, they should also be arrested. Let proper investigations go on. Let police investigations go on. Let us know that we have not entrusted the resources and the people in the hands of people who have assumed power to use the power to destroy the people and to destroy the lands and forestry and the waters that are at their disposal.
Very briefly, I know you're a member of parliament. You have the powers to invite even summon the special prosecutors come and brief you on his work and what he's doing. Is this something that you intend to exercise if you really want clarity?
It's a very high possibility. As we go along, we would examine what he is doing. If it is within the confines of the mandate we believe is entrusted into him, and also within the policy arrangement that we are foreseeing will solve the problem, we don't need to go on to ask him. He will go on with his work. But if there is a side step on the exact thing we think should be a situation that would prevail to solve the problems at our disposal now, we will want to talk to him to make sure he's doing the right thing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid Purple, and he is the ranking on the Forestry Committee in Parliament. News Night in a minute.
Brother Bernard.
Yes.
Onia, this morning I'm very hungry. Please, let's go and buy gobe. This time, I want her to add small salad, really, small talia, and soft cocoa, specially made for me. But you know how I like to customize my food.
Hey, because of what? You think say you buy Vodafone made for me bundle offers? Star 530 hash is the code to get the best value offers made just for you for as low as 1 Ghana cedi.
Hey, Brother Bernard, so you've been hiding Vodafone made for me bundles from me?
Oh, just dial star 530 hash. Feel special with the Vodafone made for me bundle offers. Get unbeatable best value offers from voice, data, or voice plus data bundles made just for you. Dial star 530 hash to subscribe to Vodafone made for me bundle offers or download my Vodafone app today.
Vodafone, further together.
I've got Bell back and I won't let go.
My name is Nanama McBrown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best, and when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bell Pack Tea Roll, and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Belpack tea roll is smooth and gentle on the skin. Same as Belpack kitchen towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Belpack kitchen towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Belpack today and experience the perfect paper tissue. Say pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Belpack is simply the best. Belpack, just perfect.
To be a Belpack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
Nothing feels so good like Belpack.
Wouldn't you prefer an apartment hotel? One that offers the utmost convenience of a boutique hotel while offering the idyllic comfort of your own private home. Oasis Park Residences offers luxury studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, both for short and long-term rental at competitive rates. Our sky swimming pool, gourmet outdoor restaurant, and a fully equipped gym rest on a breathtaking rooftop with panoramic views of the city. Oasis Park Residences, located at Shiashi Tetekwashi, 10 minutes from the international airport, is the ideal place for all your accommodation needs. Why don't you give us a call on 020-4343-009 or visit our website at oasisparkresidences.com to make your reservations. Oasis Park Residences, more than a home.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. We're live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra, in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. We are also on Facebook, we're on Twitter Spaces, and we're on myjoyonline.com. Tonight, police to flood Asin North with 800 armed police officers in a bid to forestall violence before, during, and after the crucial by-election.
They are bringing no less than 800 police people there. So if you are bringing 800, the place has 99 police stations. So it means that one police station may have an average of about 8 police persons.
We have the latest from the constituency as the EC concludes balloting for 4 candidates. We'll tell you who occupies which position. Also, former EC boss Dr. Kwejoa Farijan warns maintaining too many coalition stages in Ghana's electoral process could create room for tampering with election results, as he urges the EC to ditch the regional coalition system. And then we'll give you details of that and also put the spotlight on the Boko conflict as the Asantehene Otumfo say to the second steps are peace talks further with feuding factions in the age-old conflict. Details as the feuding factions in the area have already honored separate invitations by Mensah. And barely 3 months after Joy News aired the One District, Some Factories Hotline documentary, the government has started rolling out interventions aimed at resolving the challenges bedeviling the policy.
Information I got was that the president himself saw the documentary and he wasn't happy at all about what he saw. So immediately he tasked some officials in government to ensure that the issues are resolved.
In business, banks and other financial institutions lost more than 50 million Ghana cedis due to fraud cases for last year.
And in sports, a 10-man Black Meteors play out a 1-1 draw with Egypt under-23 in a friendly ahead of AFCON under-23 tournament.
And also in the package, government begins works on some potholes across the country following Joy News series GH Potholes exhibition. Details as we put the spotlight on the potholes at the Park Ground roundabout in Sekondi Tadi.
Potholes have been developed in the southern part of roundabout and northern part of roundabout being developed. So we are waiting for eastern part of the roundabout to develop.
We have that and more in tonight's edition of Newsnight. Please do well to join us with your thoughts and your comments via WhatsApp 055-1111-997. You're watching us live on our social media platforms. Please leave your comments with the hashtag Newsnight. I am Emefa Apawu.
And my name is Mensah. And we start tonight from Asen North, where ahead of the crucial by-elections, there 800 armed police officers are set to be deployed in a bid to forestall violence before, during, and after the polls. The Director of Electoral Services of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Stribo Kwaku, also indicates that contacts and engagements have been held with the political parties to ensure a peaceful poll. Listen to him talking about the security arrangements currently being instituted.
To express the appreciation of the Commission to the IGP. For Kumawu, he was there in person, and I could count more than 150 motorbikes. So the place was flooded with the police and their facilities and the rest. That's why we realized that the place was peaceful. And as I speak to you, I was in Western North over the weekend, and I met the regional commander. I don't know the rank, but he's called Tekuju. He's the regional commander there. And he's also a nice guy. And the assurance was that they are bringing no less than 800 police people there. So if you are bringing 800, the place has 99 police institutions. So it means that one police station may have an average of about 8 police persons. So we are hoping that the security will be beefed up and we have peaceful election. The most important thing is that nobody should lose a strip of the hair, because we are going to vote for somebody. So we are already in contact with them, discussing the way the election could be conducted peacefully, and we also appeal to all stakeholders that they should go there, do the right things, they should do what they are supposed to do, so that you don't infringe on the law, so that you have an issue to do with the law after the by-election. It will not be in anybody's interest.
An important player in this will be the political parties themselves. Of course, you met the police, they give me assurances. Do you plan to meet the parties before?
I think I've said it already, that as part of the program, there will be a RIPAC meeting at the regional level, and there will be a DAPAC meeting at the district level. I have the timetable, but I don't have it now with me. So they will meet them. There's no way we can have election without
meeting the parties.
So you know that balloting was also done. I will be taking you to Asin North shortly. They've concluded the balloting for the 4 candidates contesting the Asin North constituency by-election. We know that James Jachikwesing is representing the NDC, Charles Opoku for the NPP, Sefanu Benes Enyonam is representing the LPG, and Abedu Agatha is an independent candidate. And I'm sure you're interested in who places, which positions they've all placed so far after the balloting. And Charles Opoku of the NPP is at the top of the ballot, first on the ballot paper, followed by the LPG's Sefanu Benes Enyonam, number 2. Then we have James Jachikwesing, number 3, the third position on the ballot paper, followed by the independent candidate. That's Madam, what's her name again? We have Abedu Agatha. He's the independent candidate, number 4. She's at Aseho.
So now all is set now for that ballot to be printed. Now that we have the positions settled, I want to bring in the NDC's Deputy General Secretary, Musa Fagbande. Mr. Fagbande, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. I believe, were you there on the ground when the balloting happened, and happy with the third place you chose?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us. I think that the NDC is very comfortable with the number 3 on the ballot. It's a very comfortable number. It adds up to our victory. But what is more important is that we will want more assurance of security for the purposes of this election. And once the election is transparent, once the AC demonstrates the highest level of professionalism, NDC should be able to win the seat comfortably. We don't have a problem.
You talked about security. You've been on the ground. Why is that a big deal for you?
It's a big deal because Evans, what happened in Ayawaso West Wagon by government, the MPP, and its machineries is something that is a scar on the NDC. We remain guided by future events, and that we're saying that the Ghana Police Service should be able to demonstrate commitments just as they did in Kumawu, so that citizens who will cast their votes, the Electoral Commission itself the two political parties that are participating in this election, or the three, would have a security-free, a freedom to be able to participate and discharge their responsibility. With cases where government functionaries would like to impede, would like to prevent, would like to intimidate peaceful Ghanaians from voting is something that the NDC will not countenance with. We would not want to see a repetition of an election that was supposed to be peaceful, which landed in injuries of people and loss of lives. And so we believe that the police should give us enough protection. They should give the constituency enough security.
And just tonight, we've heard that the plan is to deploy 800 police officers. This will flood the entire constituency, an average of 8 officers per polling station. Isn't that enough?
Well, if they deploy 800, that can contain the prevailing insecurities. That should be enough. But you can have 800 security and they can't contain the prevailing insecurity. So what we are saying is that the Ghana Police Service is enjoined with the ultimate responsibility to protect our elections and to protect the people who will cast their vote. And then we look up to the Ghana Police Service to, should be able to account for lives and property after the election.
Okay, I'm grateful, Mustafa Gbande, for that. At least we got clarity as far as what the NDC's position is on the elections going forward. Security is a key thing for them, and we know that 800 officers will be deployed to the place. What about the MPP?
Let's find out from Communications Director Richard Ahiagba. We're grateful for your time here on Newsnight. I'm curious, we'll talk about security, but your candidate is number 1 on the ballot. You're happy with the choice you made?
Hello, is that a question for me?
Yes, it is, Ms. Ahiagba.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hardly hear you. Okay. Yes, certainly our candidate is number 1. That certainly is okay. We just want to be on the ballot. It doesn't really matter what position we're on. So we're number 1. We'll make do with that. What is important for us is the message that we're taking to the people. We have an indication that message is resonating with the people. And so that's the more important thing for us.
Well, for the NDC also, one thing that's very important to them is the issue about security. We've been hearing from the EC hinting that about 800 police officers will be deployed in Asin North ahead of the by-election, amongst others. What for the NPP will be key? Security is also high on your agenda?
Well, certainly, we know we're going to win this election fair and square. So security is key for everyone. But I would disagree slightly with the brother to say that the police must account for lives and property. All of us must account for our own conduct and then be in a position to be peaceful. Because if I am peaceful, you are peaceful, all of us are peaceful, there isn't anything that is going to go wrong with a group of peaceful people deciding to have a peaceful election. So we, on our part, are focused and are determined to have a peaceful election. The NDC should hold themselves to the same standard, and I think we're going to have a peaceful election.
And how about Operation Occupy Asin North? I'm sure that's something we can talk about much later, but we'll move on at this point. Thank you so much for joining us. Richard Ahiagba is Communications Director of the MPP. Well, let's bring in Kojo Pumpuni Asante with the CDD, and this is a crucial election that we know that the CDD is watching as well, Evans.
Yes, they are, and Kojo Asante joins us right now from the CDD. Thank you very much, Dr. Asante, for your time. I wonder, how is the CDD, and of course with Kojo, how are you viewing this particular by-election? We're just coming on the back of Kumewu and many concerns there of vote buying, abuse of incumbency. What's your view on this going into this by-election?
Well, I mean, I think, thank you very much for the opportunity. But I think everybody recognizes that this is an important election because by-elections always tend to, bring a lot of challenges. We've seen a lot of violence in the past in almost every by-election that we have had. Kumewu, I think, went well, except, all the incidents of vote buying and abuse of incumbency that we witnessed there. And given that Asin North is a very competitive seat, and actually the spread of competition across the electoral areas makes it very hard, for any party to win. And we know the parties have all won before. So this is almost for both the opposition that is competing to return to government and for an incumbent that wants to hold on to power. This is almost like a rehearsal, for 2024. They want to show that they still have strength and on the incumbent side, but the opposition also want to show that they are ready for government. So that already makes the stakes very, very high for the election.
Do you plan to deploy monitors?
Yes, Kodeo will deploy monitors for election. I'll be there myself. I think we've been quite disappointed with the way in which sort of very unbridled sort of abuse of incumbency, everybody trying to explain it away and all of that. In the context of all the problems that we have, economic challenges, the concerns that have been raised about monetization of politics, trying to, re-examine the way in which we set up our politics and make it, fit for purpose. I think it's disappointing that we don't want to stop doing the things that we have done in the past that got us to these places, and we still continue. So we'll have to keep raising these issues and finding ways to reform, our politics. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kojo Asante.
Thank you.
Relating to elections in the country, and the former Electoral Commission boss, Dr. Kwadwo Afari-Gyan, is warning that maintaining too many collation stages in Ghana's electoral process could create room for tampering with election results. He's been speaking at Election Technology and the Future of Elections in Ghana, a forum organized by the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana.
So voter tabulation sounds like a simple and straightforward activity. However, examples from recent elections would indicate that collecting centers are the most vulnerable points in manipulating election results. So it is not desirable to set up many collation points in the results management process. Each collation center represents a point where results can be corrupted willfully or through mistakes. Also, the more collating points there are in the results management process, the more difficult it is to track changes in results.
Well, the Electoral Commission has been responding to that. Listen to Dr. Srebo Kwaku, who is the Director of Electoral Services.
But for presidential, all the 275 constituency results will have to be tallied. But bringing all of them to national was a bit cumbersome. So we said now, the results will always pass through the region. Then let the regions also do their collation. So that at national, you only collate 16 results. And that makes the regional work simpler. So we now transfer the results from the constituencies to the region. So Ashanti region has the highest of 47, and I have a list of 46. So while somebody will be telling 47 results in Ashanti region, I will be telling 6 results. And all these 16 results will come to the national, and national will also do the same telling, both manual and electronic. And once these figures are concluded, the results is required for the presidential. We all know that for presidential, you need to have absolute majority, 50% plus, before you can be declared. If you don't get the 50% plus, then we go for the runoff within 21 days.
And that is Dr. Sribo Kwaku, who is the Director of Electoral Services at the EC.
Well, let's focus on the Boko conflict now. And the Asantehene Otumfo Seitu II has once again stepped up efforts or processes to help end the Boko chieftaincy dispute. The feuding factions in the area have already honored separate invitations by the Mensah Palace. The conflict, which has persisted for decades, has resulted in loss of lives and property, also stifling development in the area. Nanaya Ojima has more in the following report.
Research by the West Africa Network for Peace Building indicates 23 lives were lost in Boko conflict between January 31st and February 10th, 2023. Early this year, the installation of a new chief sparked violent disturbances in the area. Though efforts have been made in the past, including the deployment of military to solve the conflict, there have been no positive results yet. The Asantehene, as part of an intervention, has met the parties separately to let down their weapons. The Otumfo spoke about the mediation efforts when the Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Stephen Asamoah Boateng, paid a courtesy call on him. I am still on the Boko issue. I have called all factions separately. In peace and in truth, we will sit and listen to the issues. Both factions will be allowed to speak out, so we solve the issues. Already, I have spoken to the leaders of the factions and other relevant persons. Some have submitted documents to be studied, so we will look into all of that. We will all sit in one room and solve the issues.
So that's Nanaya Ojima's report there. And let's bring in, thankfully, the Chieftaincy Minister himself, Stephen Asamoah Boateng. Thank you so much for joining us here on Newsnight. So we know that the King started this in October 2022, for instance. I'm interested in knowing whether this is being done in collaboration with Mensah and your ministry. Hello, Mr. Asamoah Boateng. It does appear we don't have Mr. Asamoah Boateng. Let's try again. No, it doesn't look like. Mr. Asamoah Boateng, can you hear me? Okay, it doesn't look like we have Mr. Asamoah Boateng with us on the phone.
Let's stay with this issue a while longer because, as you know, the Boko conflict, it's been raging on for decades and the impact has been felt across the board. Tomato sellers at the famous Techiman Central Market in the Bono East region, they've been lamenting the negative effects of the Boko conflict on their trade. Queen Mother of the Techiman Tomato Sellers Association, Nana Sewa Bunsu, says the conflict is adversely affecting their businesses as traders who travel to Burkina Faso through Boko risk losing their lives as they make the journey to simply trade. Correspondent Nana Sabit has more.
Has over the years been an important trading center due to the fact that it is close to two major borders, Togo and Burkina Faso. However, the recent Boko conflicts has scared many investors away from the once vibrant trading center. The effects of this seemingly unending conflict has gone beyond the borders of Boko, as tomato sellers at the famous Techiman Central Market who travel to Burkina Faso through Bupe say the conflict is slowly putting them out of business as these traders risk losing their lives en route to their destination. Nana Sewa Bunsu is the Queen Mother of the Techiman Tomato Sellers Association. The Boko conflict has affected us in diverse ways. Our trading counterparts up north are relocating to the south, and we have to risk traveling through Boko to Burkina Faso for tomatoes. Mama Faustina Donko on her part tells me that with the current happenings in the Boko enclave, the only thing that motivates them to embark on this risky trip is the current economic challenges within the country. If not for the economic crisis we are currently going through, we wouldn't have been embarking on this dangerous journey. When you watch the happenings on TV, you wouldn't risk traveling there because even the Boko indigents are moving out of the town. So we are appealing to government to intervene for peace to prevail. Until we return from our trip, we are always not at peace. Aside the difficulties the Boko conflict brings to these traders, the high cost of fuel prices at the pumps is also compounding to their economic woes. Ifia Wuswa is a tomato seller here. She wants government to intervene by reducing the prices of petroleum products at the pumps.
Sikasu ni system so bi di beba beto ade enti yesra bali bebre say wanti diesel so mani mamla fam na yeso
the high cost of diesel is collapsing our businesses. The prices of tomato is now high due to the cost of petroleum products. So we are appealing to government to come to our aid because we pay a lot of duty when we go to Burkina Faso, and this is honestly collapsing our tomato trade. Anna Sabit, Joy News, Techiman.
So that's the impact already being felt from the Boko conflict. And let's work the lines again and bring in the Chieftaincy Minister, Stephen Asamoah Boateng. Also on the other line, we have the conflict resolution expert, Emmanuel Bombande, joining us. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Mr. Asamoah Boateng. So from the briefing I heard the Asante Hene give, it appears that he's met both sides separately already. Are we anywhere close to ending the Boko conflict from the briefing that you got?
First of all, let me thank you for the opportunity to speak to your network. I met with the Otunfo, the Asante yesterday on my courtesy call on him. And in my presentation, I did mention the Boko crisis and thanked him for stepping in to find lasting solutions of peace in the Boko conflict. Indeed, government has made a decision that it should help resolve it for all of us. And I've been on record to say that in matters of chieftaincy, we politicians are not the best to handle these things. That's why we have chieftaincy institutions. It's recognized by our constitution, and we have a Chieftaincy Act 208, Act 759. My job as a minister here is to serve the people through the institutions, provide the logistics, provide the coordination, and whatever I can do behind the scenes. But when it comes to customs, it comes to tradition, it comes to age-old issues to do with land, the best people are the traditional authorities. So we use the institutions and approach him to help out. And indeed, his response was that he's already met the two factions, and he's also met the Mampusis who are residents in the Boko and the areas surrounding Boko, basically Busiga, Zimbela, Garut, and Pani. And they've made some headway. Sorry?
Well, interacting with experts on this is an open secret that we have political involvement in this Boko situation. Is it an issue that we are tackling separately as part of these talks?
Sorry, I couldn't hear your question.
I'm saying that is an open secret that there's political involvement in this Boko situation. Is it an issue you are tackling separately as part of these talks?
There has been some involvement in the past. You're right. We are not oblivious to that. I have had the opportunity to meet the political actors too. I've met my own brother, Mahama Yalga. I've met Aboka. We've spoken on the phone several times. So I'm aware that the two political parties in Ghana, the main one, need to also understand that it is now our business to meddle with the chieftaincy matter. So we would help with the backdrop issues, but in terms of getting it solved, it's the traditional authorities.
Mr. Samwabwating, we are grateful. Let me quickly touch base with Mr. Bombande also on this. You had called for this particular action to be taken. Are you hopeful that we'll have a Dagbon magic replicated in this situation as well?
Thank you, Emefa, and good evening to your listeners. I would respond to you by saying it's a very commendable effort, and I take pride in the fact that in Ghana we have traditional institutions that have a mediative capacity, such as Otunfo Ashantehene's moral authority that he has expended with a good track record, as you mentioned in Dagbon. But let me quickly then come to the subject matter and to say that, one, it is, in my view, quite refreshing to hear the Minister for Chieftaincy Affairs, himself a politician, recognizing that politicians should not have any influence that would be understood as meddling. But let me qualify that. It's not about the role of the politician. It is about the perception that parties have about the role of the politician. And so I hope that politicians have listened to the Chieftaincy Minister, that it is not just about their role, but it is the perception of the parties. For example, if people have taken weapons, violated the laws of the land, have been, not all, but some of them have been apprehended. But it is taking more than a year for the judicial system to hold them accountable. It is not whether or not the politician is stopping the judicial process from happening, but it is the perception that powerful, influential politicians are the ones who influence the judiciary not to hold accountable those who violate the law. And so you need a comprehensive approach. And that's why we must commend Otunfo Ashanteheene for creating a space that will be the hub.
Well, we are grateful, and this is an issue that we'll definitely be exploring further with the likes of you, Mr. Emmanuel Bombande. Thank you so much for joining us. He's a conflict resolution analyst.
Now, barely 3 months after Joy News aired the One District, Some Factories Hotline documentary, the government has started rolling out interventions aimed at resolving the challenges bedeviling the policy. One of the factories that was badly affected was the Aped Cylinder Manufacturing Company Limited, located at Ewutubreku. Now, over 200,000 cylinders were locked up at the factory because the company was facing unfair competition from a foreign company. Now, the producer of the documentary, Richard Kodonyako, went back, and this is what he found.
And so now, if you come to our factory, you'll be shocked. We are now getting to almost close to 200,000 cylinders. We cannot send one out.
This was the situation with the Aped Cylinder Manufacturing Company, one of the companies under government One District, One Factory, located at Ewutubreku. The company was limping badly, and the thought of shutting it down became very imminent. Chief executive of the company was distraught, broken, and felt all hope was lost. But today, the narrative has changed.
Following your documentary recently on the challenges that we were faced with, by the grace of God, as we speak, the markets have started responding. Your documentary got the government to take some actions, and as we speak, now the pricing levels have come to a normal level, and so we are all playing in the field.
The workers are busy putting metals on metals to produce the cylinders.
The information I got was that the president himself saw the documentary and he wasn't happy at all about what he saw. So immediately he tasked some officials in government to ensure that the issues are resolved. And as we speak, not completely resolved, but at least to the extent that we are now able to enter the market and do our business, I think we are on course. They've also lined up a number of things they are working on our behalf.
The CEO, Philip Asifo, couldn't thank Joy News enough for producing the documentary that has changed a situation that affected the economies of the local community and the businesses of many. The intervention by government is like a pain relief to them.
All these our workers are also, actively doing something. This is what we want. So what you did has now brought back the workers. At least is now keeping people fed in their homes. The number of workers almost close to getting to 250 workers. Now we are even now moving to the level of expansion.
Joy News has been exploring other interventions government has put in place to bring the dead factories and the government 1D 1F back to life. Deputy Trade and Industry Minister Michael Ochibefi has been speaking to Joy News.
We are working so hard to make sure that all the companies that have issues, those issues will be resolved so that they'll be able to do business well and compete in the market and make very good returns on their investments. We have had engagement with the management team of Casa de Europa. They can testify to that fact. Honorable KT Hammond met them in private, and we also met the management team. We have had very good discussions, and we have also engaged Exim Bank on that issue. Everything that needs to be done is being done to make sure that these companies be very active back in the market to be able to work and make the numbers right. So,
for Joy News, Richard Kwejunyako report.
And the man is in the studios, Richard Kojonyako. Well, you focused on over 20 districts or factories in these districts, and out of that, at least we focused on one. I'm sure there's action on more. Tell us.
Yes, so my information is that after the president watched the documentary, he watched with the two-part series, and he was not really happy about the development. And so some on the trade ministry and the people that matter as far as these one district, one factory are concerned. And so when the trade minister assumed office, he invited all the factories that were mentioned in the documentary, and I'm told that there are interventions with Casa de Europa, with the others as well. For some of them, they are giving them incentives. For others too, because they didn't have funds to support or to even start the operations of the factory, they've also committed Exim Bank, and so they are in talks with Exim Bank to release some funds so that the factories would start running.
Okay, and we'll be focusing on it. Thank you very much, Richard Kojonyako. We'll go for business. When we return, we'll talk about potholes.
More potholes indeed, and government has begun work on some potholes across the country following Joy News series GH Potholes exhibition. Details as we put the spotlight on the potholes at the Park Grants Runabout in Sekendi, Takrade.
Potholes have been developed in the southern part of Runabout and northern part of Runabout being developed. So we are waiting for eastern part of the Runabout to develop.
Well, we'll update you which potholes have been fixed in the last few days. And George, you are faced here. George, you know one.
I think the run in front of the Iran clinic before you get to the overhead. I think there's been some development there, because first you used to see, is it gullies?
Yes,
is
yeah,
the
we'll
correct
take a walk
expression?
after. Yeah.
Gullies. Now it looks like it's leveled a little bit. I stand to be corrected. So indeed, that song about radio getting results is indeed
It does get results.
So
what do you have in the headline, George?
Evans, banks and other financial institutions lost more than 50 million Ghana cedis due to reported fraud cases for last year. Evans, with staff playing a major role in these issues, and they're prepared to pay more for each litre of diesel and petrol from tomorrow as marketers link the increase to recent challenges with the Ghana cedi. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Allianz Life and Ghana Pay.
Wonderful. When everything worth doing is scheduled, hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog. That's happy moments listening to your baby's heartbeats at the doctor's office. Or an arranged virtual meeting with that big client.
Buy airtime ahead of time with scheduled airtime service on MTN Momo. You can schedule your airtime purchase of any amount daily, weekly, or monthly by dialing *170# option 3 and follow the process. Or simply dial *170*311# for a superb airtime purchase experience. You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Media Sambisanda mo. Etiamratia no. Mumu hwan pa na tumi hwe na mo bodompe mo man yakono. Eye kwabna. No mumu hwan so na tumi tasmale memma yɛ nyina de. Eye kojo. Enu kro. Kobre tumi hwe na bodompe mo sense oyi super accident eba. Aye den aban ne do braye. Bo si echi na mo ban na sem ma na hoɔde ne. Sa ani na kodwo nso yi super accident chako. Na no ne de e ma wo se wo ye kregen fita. Na watimi asiri bedwo memma na feel you. Ey kojo. Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. Afedie. You're gonna natural.
FDIJ Jadion Katoyatu.
Shit. Wahala no get breaks so.
What is it?
Some customers have left. Their mobile money payment didn't come.
What?
Avoid such payment issues with BluePay. BluePay lets you easily receive payments on your mobile device with no e-levy charges. Simply enter your customer's number and the amount to be paid on your BluePay app. The customer will receive the BluePay prompt to confirm with their PIN instantly. Customers can also pay with bank cards using the BluePay POS device. Call or WhatsApp 054-7220-200 or visit bluepay.com.gh to register and get BluePay for your business today. BluePay, never miss a sale.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, banks, specialized deposit-taking institutions and payment service providers lost about 56 million Ghana cedis in monetary value for last year. Now, this was captured in the 2022 Bank of Ghana's Trends and Statistics of reported fraud cases. There is more in this report.
The Bank of Ghana's report showed that the loss recorded represented a little over 7% drop in monetary value compared to the 61 million Ghana cedis published in 2021. In terms of the number of cases that these institutions recorded, it stood at almost 3,000 compared to a little over 2,000 in 2021. This showed that total number of fraud cases had gone in the banking and financial sectors. According to the Bank of Ghana, there were 5 major drivers that influenced the pickup in fraud cases. These are fraud typologies, manipulation of documents, fraudulent withdrawals. The rest are check fraud, cyber email and cash theft. Another fraud typology, which was also on the increase, was fraudulent withdrawal. Most of the cases recorded in this fraud type had the involvement of staff of banks and special deposit institutions. While staff involvement in fraud persists, the numbers have started trending downwards as a result of strict sanctions imposed by the Bank of Ghana and strong advocacy for improved controls by the sector institutions.
Well, if you're worried about this development, well, listen to this. The total value of fraud cases reported by payment service providers, especially when it comes to the mobile money business for 2022, amounted to 27 million Ghana cedis. Now, this was significantly higher than the 14.2 million recorded in 2021. Now, prepare to pay more for each litre of diesel and petrol sold to you at the pumps from tomorrow. Now, that's according to the Association of Oil Marketing Companies. They are projecting about 3 to 4% hike in prices per litre. Now, this is despite the projected reduction in the price of LPG. Kukwaji Mandia is Chief Executive of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, and he has been speaking with Joy Business.
What's happening is that the Brent crude, the world price, is just went down marginally from $76 per barrel to 75.46 per barrel, which is about 0.8% drop. Then what you like to hear is that the world market price for petrol, for instance, went down by 0.3%, and that for diesel went up by 0.9%. It went down by 4%. All right, and our dear old Ghana cedi also depreciated by 4.24%. So invariably, if you put all together, we expect to have an increase in the petrol and diesel by 3%, largely because of the cedi dollar relationship.
Kwekwa Jumandia is the chief executive of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, speaking on the marketplace on Joy News with Pius Kojo Baka. Let's still stay on the sector because bulk oil importers are warning of negative impact on fuel prices and product supply over Bank of Ghana's plan to halt dollar sale to its members. The IMF is pushing the central bank to review its policy of selling dollars to bulk oil importers as part of the program reforms. Now, there are fears that this could see prices go up significantly in the coming months. Dr. Kweku Ofori is chief executive of the chamber, and he has been explaining the dynamics to Joy Business.
We all know the impact of petroleum products and transportation on inflation. If we go to the central bank, if we go to the commercial banks, source for dollars, and they give it to us at that rate, you automatically expect that the same rate will be passed on to the final consumer. And that is where we can find an innovative way and creative way that the central bank have used in previous situations when the country was in a dire need, that they provided a BOG, BDC forest auction program. And we hope that the opportunities that this program brings, that they were suggesting periods of review and evaluation, will have the opportunity to be able to engage the IMF and then for them to take a critical look about some of the interventions that they want to introduce, which we think may be inimical to the gains that they've made.
Chief Executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, Dr. Kweku Ofori, and the Bank of Ghana is still taking steps to at least support these bulk oil distributors with the required dollars for the operations. It on Wednesday sold $20 million to the auction to these importers. The bank selling these dollars at the rate of 11 Ghana cedis, 27 pesos. The bulk oil distributors have maintained that this support had gone a long way to stabilize prices on the market. Now, the IMF is describing as 1 week government engagement as well as other stakeholders as fruitful. The fund has been in the country since last week to track progress made by government in implementing some conditions under the program. They are expected to bring their week engagement to an end this week and head to Washington, D.C. Many people will be looking forward to that November meeting to review Ghana's program to see whether we've been able to meet those conditions under the program. And events on PM Express Business Edition tonight, we're talking about pensions, and sometimes we think it's far away from us, but we'll get there very soon with the Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, that is Dr. Frederick As we look at pensions, the bit about contributions, the bit about arguments and proposals that we should see the pension age being reviewed as well, and even your contributions, the basic salary, as the time come to review that one as well. And issues about investments. All these issues on PM Express Business Edition at 9 p.m. with the Director General of SNIT as we talk about pensions and pensions.
Well, you don't want to miss that, especially also catch it on our many social media platforms as well, on YouTube and on Facebook. You are live here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, in the last 2 weeks, we've been focusing on the terrible state of our roads with our GH Potholes exhibition series. Well, tonight, government says it has taken notice of the state of the roads and has begun a process of finding the funds, but also maintaining some of these roads. We'll get into the details of this pretty shortly. Let's bring in Muftau with the latest from the world of sports.
Yes, Evans,
the Black Meteors, they were in an international friendly and they played Egypt in an international friendly earlier today. That game ended 1-1. The Black Meteors themselves had a red card in that game and managed to hold on to play 1-1 there. Well, they did take the lead through Daniel Efriebania, who scored from the penalty spot. Then the Egyptians did get a penalty, but Ghana's goalkeeper Dalan Ibrahim rose to the occasion and managed to save the penalty on the 39th minute. However, Dalan Ibrahim did commit a mistake which led to the Egyptians finding the equalizer. Both sides did give their best, but the game ended 1-1 at the very end. The Black Meteors was part of the preparation for that Under-23 AFCON tournament slated for Morocco later this month, and they will continue their preparation in Egypt ahead of that tournament there. And also just a little bit of news coming in Europe. Of course, even you know that Real Madrid have unveiled Jude Bellingham in a fee reported to be some 103 million euros there, and he'll be donning Zinedine Zidane's number 5 jersey, and he says he's looking forward to extending Zidane's legacy at Real Madrid over there. That's the sports update we have for you. And the MTN Ashanti Festival is on, and they're having a gala involving 16 communities. And they have some 20,000 Ghana cedis for the winner, some 10,000 Ghana cedis for the second place team, and some 5,000 Ghana cedis for the third place team. So we'll keep tabs on that and bring you up to speed on what happens. That's it for sports, brought to you by Pepsodent Herbal and Chaco. Pepsodent, every smile matters.
Thank you very much. And you're still live here on News 90s on Joy 99.7 FM. Let's turn our attentions now to the GH Potholes exhibition. And as I've been telling you, the government has issued a statement indicating that they've noticed and they are fixing the many potholes that has dotted our highways across the country. We'll tell you details of this particular statement pretty shortly, but first let's turn our attention to the Park Ground Runabout in Takrade, where my colleague Samoko Dubrace reports a runabout has developed deep potholes which are creating lots of inconvenience to motorists.
The potholes have been developed in the southern part of runabout and northern part of runabout being developed. So we are waiting for eastern part of the runabout to develop, which I think that it's a serious thing that we ought to look at. Unfortunately, we can't tie the reason why we can't do this route to Russian and Ukraine war and COVID. We can only tie it to the fact that it's a critical route that needs to be maintained.
That's Charles Mintaba, a social commentator in the Western region, lamenting how deplorable the Park Ground Runabout is currently.
This road is critically important, as I cited. As we stand here, if you want to go to any part of the city, you can go, because all roads coming from any part of the city, New Takoradi, Sekendi, Vodafone, ECG, town, link up to the Park Grounds. So that is why I think that it is so critical that we cannot waste time. We have to ensure that this is fixed concerning the critical nature of this road.
The Park Ground Runabout is a very critical route in the Sekendi Takoradi metropolis. The sad story, however, is that the stretch is riddled with potholes. This hole was once small, but it was ignored for several months and has now widened, best described as a king-sized bed capable of accommodating more than 2 adults. There is even one that has deepened and collects so much when it rains that it looks more like a swimming pool.
The Park Ground Runabout here in the Sekendi Takoradi metropolis, named after one of Ghana's founding fathers, George Park Ground. How do we as a country intend to honor his memory? What we've decided to do is to honor him with potholes. Several potholes surround this roundabout. So in our estimation, the best way to honor someone who did his best for this country, Ghana, is to rather allow potholes to build up around a place we named after him.
Charles Mintaba is not happy.
So let's assume that Park Ground was seated here alive. Will we allow this road to deteriorate to this state? There are people who will not want to pass here. just because of the state of this road. So if we named this place after power grant, and the actions and inactions of city authorities have gotten to a state that we cannot work on it, and people who would have passed here to honor power grant don't pass here, what have we done to power grants? So what at all is the problem that city planners cannot fix now? Knowing the critical nature this road is. The critical nature of this road should not have pot wells developed around a prominent person who we name after him power grant. And that is why I think that it is a state of emergency.
Driver John supplies mineral water in the metropolis. He says it is sad that all the officials of the region use this stretch but have looked on unconcerned.
We have complained about the potholes several times, but nothing is done about it. If some of my load had not been bought, all of it would have poured onto the road now. Meanwhile, we pay tax. The regional minister, the MPs and other big officials use this road daily, but they seem not to care. We are really suffering, buying spare parts, especially our ball joints.
To protect their vehicles from slumping into potholes, some drivers have now resorted to climbing into the perimeter of the roundabout, destroying the curbs.
Boss.
Being in Second Takrady, the capital of the region, yet look at the state of our road. This is a disgrace. It must be fixed.
We are really suffering. When you move a little, your car scratches the surface of the road because of the potholes.
To Charles Mintaba, the city authorities must act quickly to get this fixed.
So I appeal to city planners, urban routes, the regional minister and the metro chief executive that this is beyond where we have to allow you to, considering the critical nature and why this place was named after a very important person. For Ghana's independence cannot be discussed unless it is linked up to power grant.
When will authorities intervene and solve these challenges? Your guess is as good as mine. From the power grant roundabout in Second Takrady, for Joy News, I am Samuel Kojo Brace.
Well, the Ministry of Roads and Highways, they've issued a statement on this GH Potholes exhibition, and it says the attention have been drawn to concerns being raised, and it gives an update of some works that are already ongoing. Maintenance works are currently ongoing at the following locations: Tertiary Blow Road and the Fertilizer Road. And thankfully, my colleague Hannah Odame visited that area earlier today. She joins us on the line. Hannah, quickly give us an update on this ongoing works that the government talks about.
Emefa, yes. So I saw some portions of the Tribler Road where the construction was ongoing for the filling of the pothole. On the Fertilizer Road, from end to end, I saw that work was ongoing. The entire road, we have the potholes filled, and the asphalt was also being laid on it. But there were concerns. Almost everybody I spoke to said that they are not too convinced about the kinds of material used, because what they are seeing suggests to them that this will not last for long. Once the rain comes down again, the potholes may appear. So they rather prefer to see that quality materials are used for the construction of the road as well as filling the potholes, so that when it rains or when heavy traffic pass on them, they don't see the potholes or what they call manholes again.
Well, that's my colleague Hannah Odame, and look out for her report subsequently. And I'm sure Jojo Kobina and the team will be going to the Iran Clinic, amongst others, to check on works that has been done. And I'm hoping that it will be done at the Dakuman Junction Waterworks area or Doko Official Town and environs. Then we know that radio really is getting results.
I see. So without that, radio is not getting results.
It's getting. We shall get there.
We shall get there anyway. That's it for News Night tonight. Listen, up next is a personality profile on Joy 99.7 FM with Lexus Bill. David Ejiofor is the managing director of Labadi Beach Hotel, and we're celebrating him today here on the personality profile.